Wonderful for WordHack. Make some noise with your hands and faces. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's so good to be back. Good to see you, everybody. Got a nice full house here tonight. Can we... Wait, is this... Oh, Nightmare Cart. Nightmare Cart is new. Please play Nightmare Cart, but not during the show. Hey, welcome to Wonderville, everybody. I'm Todd Anderson. I'm going to be your host this evening. Welcome to WordHack. WordHack is a monthly show. Oh, yeah. The arcade sounds. WordHack is a monthly show we run here at Wonderville. It's been running for, actually, July is our anniversary, so it's running for 11 years now. Happy birthday to WordHack. Very exciting to be back here. And we've been at Wonderville now for, I guess, about 3 years. We love it here at Wonderville. Let's give it up for Wonderville real quick. And in particular, we have Chantal at the door, we have Sean at the bar, and we have Rhodey in the booth. Give it up for all of our staff this evening. And a special shout out to Rhodey, whose arcade cabinet Weather Sysadmin is now available to be played at the Museum of the Moving Image. Give it up for Rhodey! So welcome to WordHack. What is WordHack, you say? It's a word and a hack. That is true. But more than that, it's a place to gather every month where we all come together and just think about words and computers. And lots of people think about words and think about computers. Sometimes people care about one of those things more than the other. Maybe like 80% computers, 20% words, or 80% words, 20% computers. Maybe a fun personality test. What is your own personal ratio of caring about those respective things? But wherever you are on that spectrum of things, this is a place where people who are interested in some combination of those can come together and share things they've been working on, thinking about, kind of just across disciplines. So my background, it was initially in poetry, and then I was making just some weird kind of projector-based performance art using words, and I started this show because there was not really a place that showing the work I was making made sense. It was increasingly hostile to like show up at small poetry readings and like run an extension cord and set up a projector and like have a big spandex sheet in front of the screen and then kind of do my like it was really fun, but like the seventh time it got, I think, pretty taxing on the organizers of those events. So I wanted to create a place where, like, okay, it's not like a huge imposition to plug in a computer and show something on a projector. And people come at this from all kinds of backgrounds. So, like, I come from this writing background, and I play a lot of games, come from some of that background. But we have people here who come at it from a programming background, either making software that works with language, or people from a game design and development background, creating procedural storytelling or different sorts of dialogue systems. We have academics who analyze language on a complex level, people who make experimental websites, writers who are exploring different ways technology can get into their writing. And kind of the thesis of the show is that we all have like something to inspire each other with and learn from each other, and some shared interests that we can talk about. And so we gather here every month and hang out in a cool, low-stakes intellectual environment and have a couple beers and think about words. That's the plan for this evening. Is that something you might be interested in? Great. I'm really happy to hear that. So we have a really outstanding lineup of featured presenters. Tonight we're going to be hearing from Aleksic, the etymology nerd. We're going to be hearing from Lucia Gomez and Sweigart. Give it up for our featured presenters. And then before we get to them, though, we have a WordHack tradition of the open projector. So as I mentioned, my background is in poetry. I first moved to New York in 2010, just a suitcase and a poem in my pocket, and didn't really know anyone, and was still able, because this is the culture in poetry, you can just show up at a place, not know anyone, and get uninterrupted access to people's attention. Yeah, it's kind of miraculous, and I was able to like just go to some poetry readings, sign up on an open mic list, share a poem, and then get muted response from the audience, but eventually like find the one person that smiled at my joke and like be like, hey, we are friends. And then that's how you make friends in New York City. It's the only way, in fact. And we provide that opportunity here at WordHack, where you can come up, share. It sometimes can be hard in New York. It's a crowded place, not a lot of access to places to share things. It can be hard to find a place to share a project or like to show artwork in a gallery or in an academic setting, and if you don't already know someone who thinks you're cool or have a lot of money. And yeah, we like to provide a space where you can just come up front, put your name on a list, and show something, and we'll all be here and be a supportive community for it. So you have 5 minutes to share something. I am reluctantly going to start being a little stricter on time. I used to say 5 minutes and then like really mean like 7 minutes, but I'm really gonna start more meaning 5 minutes. Yeah, people love an efficiently run event. I do start at 7:15. I'm a chill guy. Don't get me wrong. I am a cool chill guy, but I also start WordHack on time and run it efficiently, and that's what we're gonna do here. So try and keep it to 5. What will I do? I'll jangle my keys at you. Yeah, so just listen out if you're in the danger zone. That'll mean you have like maybe 30 seconds to wrap it up. You can also make meaningful eye contact at me at any time, and I'll give you a number of fingers. With that out of the way, let's get started with our first open projector presenter of this evening. And now the onus is on you, the audience, to really warm the space up and welcome our first presenter. Get the energy in here going for Max Neely-Cohen. Give it up for Max.
Thank you, Todd. Give it up for Todd, the great impresario of this space. As I get plugged in. So back in April, I was like kind of feeling down about the collapse of the global order. And I remember, is this going? We got it?
Projector's a little sleepy.
Oh, yeah?
So usually we'll take like 10 seconds.
I remembered that back in 2019, I sketched out a couple drum machines that I wanted to be like websites or software, and then I never coded them. And I was like, oh, I'll make them. We get it?
You're just going direct into HTML, right?
Yeah.
Are you getting any signal ready? Wait.
Hey! So I was like, oh, I'll finally make them 6 years later. So this was my first one, which was just like logic gates. I don't know if sound is coming out of this.
Yeah, there's a separate sound cable, which you have plugged in. You're a professional.
So like, just some logic gates hooked up to clocks. Very simple, but it was a fun, like, you know, you can change the type of logic gate and make it go insane. Anyway, it was fun. And then, you know, this is WordHack, and I'm a writer, and so naturally the second idea was a phonetic drum machine where you had to, you know, like type out boom in order to get a beat. You know, this really like totally impractical way of having a drum machine. And so I made these two, and I was like, man, that was fun. It was really fun to make these drum machines. I should make more, but then I need a name for what to contain them all in, and the only thing that came into my head was this. And I put all the slots in. There are 10,000. At the top in the About section, it automatically calculates my life expectancy. And there's all kinds. We have like, man, we have drum machines that are like all literal like white noise. We also have drum machines that, that was really a setup for a joke, are just like every sample is from the Beatles' White Album, and that's all you have. We have again, language and technology. This is the Boots and Cats drum machine, which I don't think you can see, but there's two boxes, Boots and Cats, and you drag them, and then, And there's some of them are more serious, some of them are actually like incredible instruments. But here's another, because again, WordHack, a language-based one. This one under me is like the text of Moby Dick. You can pick other classic literature too, and put in what words you want to make sounds. So this is me, my, see, and then whale will give a little cymbal crash. So, there's a lot of them. They keep going. This one is you're not allowed to use 4/4 time signature. You can only use like anything else, but not 4/4. Some of them are really, really graphic. This one takes a second to load, but it's like a floating 3D model of the Earth with a day-night cycle, and you type in cities, and each of those cities makes a drum beat. So, why am I telling you all this? Well, I'm not just publishing my own drum machines, I'm publishing other people's, and I have 10,000 slots. Well, 9,970-ish slots. And this collection, there's people in this room who I know have the skill set to do this. Also, like, I'm running out of ideas. You can even just send me an idea, and I'll like do the labor. But the point is, I would really, really, really love it if you would make me a drum machine. So that's my plea to you. Thank you so much.
Alrighty, thank you, Max. Coming up next. Also, brief shout out. We are live streaming on twitch.tv/Wonderville NYC. If you're ever, we're here the third Thursday of every month. So if you're ever not able to attend in person, but are like, I'd like to check in for half an hour, see what's going on at WordHack, come say hello in the chat and check in on Twitch. Right. Shout outs to Jada Bites and Matt Griffin for watching along online. You will be visible to the presenters and can antagonize them. Let's give a welcome to our next open projector presenter, who is Nolan. Give it up for Nolan.
Hello. Thank you. Oh man, Todd is such a cool chill host. All right, just want to make sure that y'all can see this. Is this like kind of visible? Maybe we can make it a little more visible. That's too small. Okay, we'll go with something like that. I'll duck. It'll be fine. All right, so there's this thing called MDN that I really love because I like to make kind of weird games. So I was browsing MDN a little bit ago, as one does. MDN is just kind of a list of all of the things that a browser can do, and browsers can do a lot of things, which is really cool. And I noticed this selection property, which tells you when a user is selecting text, kind of what they're selecting. And I just thought that was really interesting. This is literally like if you have a text box that you can edit, you can tell exactly where they're selecting stuff. And that excited me. So again, I like making weird stuff. And so I started making these kind of experiments. And I don't quite know what I want to do with this, but I wanted to show it, especially since it's partially inspired by a thing called scroll art that we might hear a little bit more about later tonight. So since we can tell where the cursor is, if I like click here, these things will start bouncing, which is kind of neat, right? We can select stuff, and this is just a normal text box. I can maneuver it with the arrow keys and extend it in different ways. And we have something. I don't really know what I would call this. But we can do something with this. And so this is kind of a prototype that I made. But I started kind of trying to think of other things that text selection reminds me of. And one that came to mind is a bridge. So I can select this, and it'll walk over that, and then we'll wait, 5 seconds, and now it's going to fall down. Catch it there, and let it fall. And I don't know what it is about this that I enjoy so much. I think there's something about both the constraints here, right? Like we have a single text box, that's all we can do. There's not that much you can do there. But there's also something about the familiarity, right? Like everyone selects text all the time. There are all these built-in hotkeys for it. And so I've been kind of trying to push this a little more. So one thing you can do with text is make it vertical instead. And so that gives us maybe Pong, where we can change the highlighted text to be a paddle. But another thing, and this is kind of a hack, that I thought was kind of fun is what if you could select kind of multiple things? So here we've got the gun from Portal. But kind of the final place that I've been taking this is kind of trying to think of, slightly more evocative scenes that require a little more, ASCII art from me. So one action that drawing back the text selection cursor kind of reminds me of is like pulling back a bow and arrow and then releasing it. Oh, you guys liked that one. That's fine. Here, we'll do it again. I hit the target every time because I'm really good at this. And kind of the final one that I have is, what if it was a little umbrella? So I've been playing around with this a lot and kind of, again, trying to figure out what to do. Someone on Blue Sky made this like WarioWare montage of all of these that I thought was pretty interesting, kind of turning these into mini games. But I think there's something kind of nice to this just being like a little, piece of text art that you can interact with instead. And I'm not quite sure where to take it, but I've been having a lot of fun with it, so I thought I would share it at WordHack. That's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Nolan, for modeling one of my favorite types of open projector presentation, which is like an idea that's not finished yet, and an idea that's like there's still so many possibilities to be explored there, and we can all kind of share in imagining the different things that could happen. That was really exciting to see. So like, yeah, you're gonna see like in our feature talks in the open projector, you'll see some people sharing really finished projects that they've been working on for a while and thinking on for a while and really polishing up. And you'll see some people like being like, this is a thing I just started working on and I'm hoping to take it somewhere. And either of those are fine. So if you are thinking about maybe presenting up here in the future, know that you don't have to have like a finished thing to share up here. You can have a thing that's just like, this is what I'm working on. And that's an exciting place to share with someone. Coming up next, we have a returning WordHack favorite. Give it up for Jackie.
Yes, please. Hello, I'm Jackie. I make a lot of work that's like interactive narratives, kind of game-like experiences. Lately, I've been working hard on a game that's like an experimental DDR rhythm game about relational healing and attachment trauma. It's called Relational Dance Dance. And I have a demo of it to show that's like about 5 minutes long. I've been working on it for an art show, so I presented this, but the eventual game will be longer, than what I show. But yeah, let's wait for it to. Oh wait, it needs to be another one. Oh, okay, we're good. Cool. I'm just gonna go for it. Okay. I think that's a good size. I'm gonna play it on my keyboard, but it can also be played with a mat. That's the title screen. Shout out to my friend Pat at Butulem, who collaborated to make custom music for this. And this is supposed to be the ending of the game. I think Maury once said, "I love when Jackie makes big text on a screen." That's when you know it's gonna. Oh, I also learned how to put the GLSL shaders in the P5JS for this. It's very fun. That's it. Thanks.
So cool. Thank you, Jackie. Do you say you're showing that somewhere, or is that just a non-public thing? Kanto? In Toronto. All right. If you want to dance to some words, go to Toronto. Thank you, Jackie. That's really cool. Up next, give it up for Maury.
Hello. Don't you guys love it when Jackie puts big text on a webpage?
I really do. I didn't have the words to describe it. HDMI or
USB, either one works. Honestly, yeah.
HDMI is cleaner.
It is cleaner. Who needs a dongle when you have the cord? And there should be a little bit of sound whenever this starts coming out. It's not super necessary yet, but it will become necessary. Is this? We're gonna get to that. Don't worry. Don't look at that. You got any sound, Rody? Anything? If not, maybe it's. Oh, I think I know the issue. Here. Maybe. It's just the It's just the external headphones. Maybe it's. Oh, duh. Maybe not duh. Sorry. No, it is a hot cable. All right. Well, the sound isn't completely necessary. It's more for flair. But in the meantime, I guess let me make sure I keep my ass on time. Hey, I keep a tight 5. All right. So normally I have like a good thing to present at these, and today I always like to present something, and I didn't really have anything, and so I was like, all right, let me have all the things that I have in the back that I don't think are worth a full open projector, and let me present those instead. So I'm going to present 2 things. I don't think I have time for 3. So as a white guy, I feel very underrepresented in art, and especially because I think art historians and Caspar David Friedrich pretty inaccurately titled this thing, 2 Men Contemplate the Moon. When I look at this, I don't see. I think that's a very sterile. Oh, can you guys see this? Sorry. Here we go. Better? Yeah. Yeah, there we go. When I see this, I don't think these are 2 men. I think these are dudes hanging out, right? I think, like, let's be honest about what's happening here. Dudes hang out. Maybe they're into each other. Maybe they're not. I wouldn't know. That's up to Casper. But I wanted to, like, de-sterilize and be a bit more, like, reasonable and honest about what's happening here. And so I made my own Chrome extension to solve this. So now I have a Chrome extension that finds every instance of the words 2 men in Metropolitan Museum of Artwork titles and replaces them with dudes hanging out. It's called Dudes Hanging Out in Art, and you can install it today. And like I said, very, very underrepresented, right? There are only 10,000 results of these. And you need to understand the sheer amount of places where dudes hang out. First of all, they just hang out in general, right? And then they hang out walking, and dudes hang out in conversation. Yeah, 2 men in conversation? These are dudes, Dudes hang out at a table. I've done that many times. Dudes hanging out with a mule. That would be fun, Dudes hanging out, leaning on a barrel and drinking. Been there. Dudes hanging out sheep shearing. Not something I can say I've done, but like this is where you have a conversation with your boys. Make a sweater afterwards. Dudes hanging out before a judge in a crowded courtroom. This is what happens, by the way. This is what happens after dudes are hanging out by a barrel and drinking. Dudes hanging out with a lion. Pretty fun. Dudes hanging out. This is a bad one. group of mother-in-laws flanked by dudes hanging out. Nothing good is coming of this. And lastly, the one inspired by this, inspired by contemplating the moon, dudes hanging out before a waterfall at sunset, which I think is very cute. And that awe translates well into the next project I want to show you, which I think is a little bit more meaningful. I tried. Do any of you know like the two-headed calf poem? It's this. Well, I was trying to dunk on it, and I accidentally made something beautiful. So it's this poem, and it's a very simple website. I made this in both these projects. The constraint that I gave myself was like, let me present projects that I've made in like under 3 hours. So I came home a little bit tipsy one night, thinking that this poem was kind of stupid, and then I proved myself wrong. So I guess I'll just read it and then show you the website. So this is Two-Headed Calf by Laura Kiplin. Tomorrow, when the farm boys find this freak of nature, they'll wrap his body in newspaper and carry him to the museum. But tonight, he is alive in the north field with his mother. It is a perfect summer evening, the moon rising over the orchard, the wind in the grass, and as he stares into the sky, there are twice as many stars as usual. And so I made this functionality as a joke, and unfortunately, I guess you'll see. Isn't that beautiful? I love that. So you wonder why you can only go up to 8 stars. The answer is because each individual 8 heads. The answer is because each individual star is an object, and the second I go to 9, my browser crashes. I have yet to learn shaders. But yeah, those are the 2 projects I wanted to present. I hope they kind of span the breadth of very stupid and somewhat sincere. Thank you.
Thank you, Maury. Ooh, got a real creaky one going on here. Yeah, I feel like one of the great joys of running an open projector is seeing it be an inspiration to create work or to create a little more work than you would otherwise. And so if you want to mentally, like Maury has, pre-commit yourself to presenting at a future WordHack, think about doing so and then make something and show it here. Maybe you might have a good time. Coming up next on our open projector, we have 2 more presenters, then we'll get to our first featured presenter. Coming up next, we have Shania. Give a warm welcome to Shania.
Hello. Yes. Very good. Oh, okay. Yes. Yes.
Actually, I'm going to slide this table a little bit over. If you want to slide your chair over,
Yes.
it's a little easier.
Yes. Okay. Cute. Okay. Hi, my name is Shania. I wasn't planning on presenting today, so I don't have any slides. But I do have this old project I made like 4 years ago. And this is my first WordHack, so I'm very excited. Yeah. Okay, so this project was a series of 12 generative love letter postcards that I made for me and my partner. So we had been dating for 12 months at the time that I was making this project. And so I thought it would be really cute. I had this assignment, like a capstone for this course I was taking called Drawing with Machines. And it's, yeah, I guess I'll just jump into it. So it's love letter postcards. The text on the back is like generative text, and on the front of the postcard, it's these like generative living room scenes. And I'll show you what it looks like in a moment, but I just wanted to run through some like inspirations and ideation for this. So I had a friend in the class who like made a bunch of like plotted his texts with his girlfriend over the years they'd been dating, and there was like these gigantic zigzagging lines. And I thought that was really cute. And I was also touched by this project called Dear Data by Georgia Lupi and Stephanie Posevec. Basically, these two data designers like sent postcards back and forth from each other for like a year. And it's stuff like, this is how many flowers I saw on my walk today. And then like they draw these like very personalized little data visualizations. Yes, okay, cool. Yes, okay. So I thought that was really sweet, and then I have this whole like, I'm interpreting my own work for you, but it's like this idea that data visualization is uniquely suited to tell the story of like a longer term relationship composed of like day in, day out, these small gestures of commitment and care. And so yeah, I was inspired by that, and I also really liked, there's this great artist technologist named Alison Parrish. She talks a lot about like generativity in text, and like the idea that she draws this analogy between like in the same way that a weather balloon can go higher and explore longer without the weight of a human, generative language can also go into these novel spaces without the weight of our intrinsic biases towards familiar meanings and concepts. So if I say the word iced, you might say coffee or tea, but like, I don't know, maybe you could say like an iced seal, right? Like there's all these like empty spaces in our like, the places where words meet, where there's all this like semantic meaning to be harvested and found. So I thought that was really interesting. And I was also pulling from this whole like idea of like constructing a living room, constructing a home, also like not weighed down by biases or particular emotional valences or attachments towards your actual home. And so yeah, so I guess I'll jump to the pictures. Yeah, so it's like these little GIFs of like all these living rooms that I made with this data set, this Google Quick Draw data set. The Google Quick Draw data set is something like, they're like, draw a chair in 5 seconds, and then you just go and you're like, you have to draw a chair. But then they like have these big data sets as like JSONs for anyone to download. So I was like, okay, let me just make some living rooms real quick. And so here are 12 living rooms, totally random. There's a plant on this couch. So there's that. And yeah, so basically the postcards were trained on progressively more and more text. So the first postcard is like 1 month of text, and so it's just stuff like, wow, you're so cute. No, there's global warming. It's just like totally nonsensical stuff. This isn't like LLM generated anything. It's like made with Markov chains, which is something like you throw a bunch of words in a soup, and then you're like, I have the word love. Like, what comes next? And then it's like you with like 60% probability. Actually, that's quite poetic. But then, it could be I love it or like I love cats, right? So it's basically just like stringing along these like lackadaisical daisy chains of meaning. They don't make a lot of sense, but you can see towards the end where they get more and more data. I think this image is dead. But like in the last postcards, it's something like, writing it all down makes me want to write a novel in November. I hope you get a good writing for bed, right? And so there's just a little bit more sense like imbued in these messages over time as we reach the end of our first year together. And so yeah, I was just really excited about making this project because there are lots of companies out there doing weird things with your data, and I think we should all do weird things with our own data. And so I just want to, that's my call to action. Like do weird things with the text that you sent to your lovers. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Shania. And to close out our open projector, give it up for Justin.
while this is loading. Hi, folks. I'm Justin. Is this working? No. Okay. I'm starting a monthly tech meetup called Brooklyn Web Workers. It's a bit like this one, except it's at a different bar on a different night. It's Mondays at Easy Lover, which would be on screen possibly, but yeah, and we have a musician playing between presentations. I don't know if anybody here went to Brooklyn JS, but it's basically that format. Maybe the projector screen is flat. No guarantees. I haven't actually run an event there yet. The talks are geared towards people who code for a living, but not any particular stack. I'm hoping to get like a blend of what I'd say, like the kind of talks you'd see here, or at like Bang Bang Con or Deconstruct. A mix of like some about software projects, some about computer science, and some about the politics of the tech industry. Well, I guess I'm not presenting tonight, but so what do I mean by politics? Just imagine, everybody knows the picture of like at the inauguration where it's like Zuck and Bezos and Sundar and Elon, and and Lauren Sanchez is also there. My boss is in that picture. Maybe yours is too. So yeah, our country's been taken over by fascists, our employers, our collaborators, and this is being done with the fruits of our labors. Bummer. But we are not powerless. We have skills, we have money until our bosses figure out how to replace us with chatbots. They do depend on us. Now, I think one of the most important things a tech meetup can do is cultivate solidarity. In the workplace, our job pressures can put us at odds with each other. I think this is a big part of what makes union organizing so difficult. But this pressure is absent in the meetup environment. We're all just together because of our shared interest and our experience, and it lets us focus on I would be gesturing at the picture of the tech leaders, our common enemy. So this is why this meetup, Brooklyn Web Workers, is explicitly political. We are avowedly anti-fascist and pro-worker. I know this, I'm really trying to not feel like this is corny and it's like, how can your milk hotel be neutral in a time like this? But I think if you want to talk about stuff that's important in the tech industry, you have to address the Mecha Hitler in the room. Social media, surveillance, AI, this is our work being turned against us, and the persecution of immigrants and trans people and neurodivergent disabled folks, those are attacks on our community. So here's where you come in. If you go to brooklynwebworkers.com, there's information about this thing, but I'm looking for speakers and musicians and also activists. So if you're any of those, or you want to connect with me with somebody who is, please just talk to me tonight, or go to brooklynwebworkers.com and there's like contact info there. I've booked some exciting speakers already. In the coming months, you'll be hearing from people involved in No Tech for Apartheid, Kickstarter United, folks who got doged out of government tech jobs. But I do also want there to be fun stuff too. I love coming here and seeing people show off their weird projects, and I want us to celebrate the things that we care about and bring us joy. I want us to know what we're fighting for. I'm also looking for musicians who, by the way, are paid in real money and not drink tickets. The venue is like small. I mean, stage is much smaller than this, and the sound system is pretty limited. I think the best bet is like solo musicians that bring their own amp. Maybe as things go along, we'll get more ambitious with that. And also, the activist is the third one. So I'm looking for activists and political organizers who can plug other events for people to take political action, stuff like cop watch training, picketing, protests. I want people to come out of the event feeling like they have been activated, not just, in addition to being entertained and informed, that they have, a concrete action to take in order to satisfy this feeling. I co-organized Brooklyn JS for the last year of its run, and I regret that we had all of these the right wing of our meetup community was like Elizabeth Warren voters, and it's like there was so much energy that was not being directed towards everybody wanted to join a union, but I think we could have pushed that more. So this is where I would have a QR code to buy tickets here. Our first event is in a little over a month, August 25th. We're last Mondays of the month, and we're at Easy Lover in Bushwick, or not Bushwick, Williamsburg, actually Williamsburg. I'm still looking for performers for August, but if you want to put your faith in me, tickets on sale are now available on brooklynwebworkers.com. Otherwise, you can just hit me up afterwards, and or I can plug this some more. But thank you for your time. Night.
Thank you so much, Justin. I'm really sorry about the projector there. Let me see if I can get the website up here. All right, there we go. Yeah, really sorry about that. Projector can be a little fussy, but please do check out Brooklyn Web Workers August 25th at Easy Lover, and yeah, really appreciate as someone who runs a tech event without it's always a fine line to walk of tech can lean towards being overly neutral, and that's fuck that. It's always tough to know how hard and how directly to push the politics of a space. But in case it wasn't clear, this is a leftist progressive space. That's the kind of stuff I'm interested in and sharing here, and this will always be a welcome environment to promote places to organize unions or any kind of anti-fascist, anti-tech sort of thing. So thank you so much for sharing that, Justin. Yeah, really cool. I'm excited to go check that out. Let's give it up for everyone on our open projector. And I'm excited to now bring up our first featured presenter, who is Al Sweigart. I'm really excited to have Al here. Al is the author of a number of freely available Python programming books and a programmer and prolific ASCII and scroll artist. I'm a huge fan of his book, Automating the Boring Stuff with Python. I learned a lot of Python from it, and it really resonated with me in that I learned to program to automate my horrible exploitative freelance copywriting job. I don't know, I feel like a lot of Al's teaching and work really resonates with the kind of ways code can and should support our lives and help us do fun, expansive things. Rather than just make scalable software solutions. Please give a warm welcome to Al Sweigart.
So HDMI is here.
Yep, sound.
All right. Let's see if sound works. So this is playing. There we go.
Ribonucleic acid, RNA, are nucleic acids. Alongside proteins, lipids and complex carb.
Perfect. Yeah, that's the Wikipedia article on DNA. Okay. And we got this, and then, is that working? That's great. Okay, let me just move that up a little bit. That's great. Okay, and then presenter view. Start from the beginning. Oh, no, I want this over there. Ugh, computers were a mistake. Presenter view. Okay, and now here. And then that moves over there. Ooh, okay. Great. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, Todd. Thanks for putting on this event. Everyone give it up for Todd and also Wonderville. Oh, this place is just wonderful. Okay, so hey, you ever hear about this thing called ASCII art? ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. It's basically just a character set. It was a really popular way in the 80s and 90s to draw pictures because you could easily send it over the slow internet connections at the time. And if you learned a program back then this was probably your first program in the basic programming language. The first instruction prints out hello, and then the second instruction goes back to the first instruction. So then it prints out hello again, and then it goes back to the first instruction, prints out hello, and then it does that over and over and over again, and it just fills up the entire screen, and the text starts scrolling upwards. And it would continue to do that until you press Control-C, or if you were like me and I didn't know about Control-C, I would just turn off the computer and then turn it back on. Anyway, it turns out you can make a sort of animation by writing a program that constantly produces text and causing the text to scroll up, and I call this scroll art. So here's a music video. The song is The Forbidden Zone, composed in the 1970s by Danny Elfman, who would later go on to make the theme song to The Simpsons and several movies. The animation is programmed by me and is about 2,000 lines of Python code. This. Perfect, stand by. There we go. Okay, so I like to make a visual impression. In fact, there's a lot of slides in this talk that you might want to take a photo of and post to social media if you were so inclined. It's also a bunch of information, but I'm going to have it all available on my website, scrollart.org. Hello, thank you for having me here. I'm Al Sweigart. Yes, I'm mostly known as the author of this book. Oh, thank you. There we go. Hello, yes, thank you for having me here. I'm Al Sweigart. I'm mostly known as the author of this book, Automate the Boring Stuff with Python. Yeah, you'll be able to see it. So it's a programming book for total beginners. It's like the minimum that an office worker needs to be productive with a computer or to make silly animation programs. I've also written a few other books, and I've somehow found myself from going from kid who wanted to program Zelda to computer science student to software engineer adult, and now someone who has thought a lot about how to get people interested in coding and with an approachable language like Python, which is really what this talk is all about. You can read all of these books for free online. They're available under a Creative Commons license at inventwithpython.com. I really like to thank my publisher, No Starch Press, for having the foresight to allow me to publish books under a Creative Commons license. It's really helped me generate more word of mouth more than anything. And I'd like to thank all librarians who do the hard work of sharing books with everyone. These are interesting times, and if nonprofit institutions like libraries and Wikipedia and the Internet Archive didn't exist, I'm not sure if we'd make them today. And if we lost them, I'm not sure if we'd get them back. So they do deserve your support, and I appreciate them, I support them, and I do not take them for granted. Oh, so on the left is an artist who fills glass fish bowls with different colored sand and pushes the grains into place to draw portraits. In the center is an artist who arranges beads on a flat board and films herself in slow motion, tossing them upwards. And on the right is an artist who carves patterns into the skin of a watermelon, getting different colors as they carve deeper. On the left is an artist who draws portraits using by tracing only along the edge of a coin. In the center is an artist who completes their illustrations using the shadow cast by common household objects. And on the right is an artist who has several elaborate bubble-making tools. A good friend of mine told me that not only will humans continue to make art, but there will always be new forms of art. So I'd like to talk to you about something I call scroll art. So scroll art is the text output of a command line program that scrolls upward once the program continues to generate text. It's really easy for beginners to create. You really only need to understand like a print function call to generate text and then put that inside of an infinite loop, maybe add some random numbers to get some variation going on in there. It's sort of like an animated form of ASCII art. And yeah, well, here, I can just show you. Where's the mouse? Of course. Yeah, or I think are we on Wonderful Wi-Fi 5G? Yes. Okay, I will do that. And then, or we could play the little dinosaur game.
That's a different project
Or maybe it's not that Wi-Fi.
It's not 5G.
Okay. Oh, OPSEC is hard. Okay, wonderful. Is there a password? Yeah. Oh, okay. We play games. Lowercase? Yes. Okay. You're just sitting there beaming, waiting. There we go. Oh, Maybe I should. There we go. So this is a really simple program. It just prints out an increasing number of indentation and then a decreasing amount of indentation, and then it just loops over and over and over again. So this is scroll art. Ooh, I am losing my mouse. It is a metaphor for many things. These programs are usually really short. They can be written in any programming language, but I found Python to be especially well suited for them. So scroll art it's similar to ASCII art. It uses a monospace font, so the width of a W is the same width as an I. It's sort of like if you were looking at a static text file and you just held down the down arrow key and all the text just kept scrolling upwards. Think about like the kind of animation that you could do with that. It's a big constraint, but in that constraint it allows you a lot of creativity. So I've posted a lot of my examples at scrollart.org. So I want to stress that this is not meant to be some kind of like retro computing thing. I mean, a lot of people have a dim view of nostalgia, and I am one of those people. I'm really interested in teaching people to code here in the 21st century. So much of computing today is like this magical black box, and it's really hard to connect how the code we write translates to the stuff that we see on the screen. But with scroll art, the program source code is text, and the output is text. So it's really easy to see the cause and effect relationship between your code and what you see on the screen. So that's what makes scroll art a great way to teach programming. But more importantly, sticking to text means that any computer can do scroll art. You don't need to have a modern laptop. You don't need a high-end graphics card. I made this on a literal Apple IIe with a Commodore 64 monitor connected to it here at the Recurse Center here in Brooklyn. Yeah, ooh, nice. So we could have been making scroll art 40 years ago, and probably people did, but we didn't have the internet and social media to share these ideas with each other. We also didn't have WordHack 40 years ago. So sticking to text also means that you don't have to install additional graphics libraries or do a lot of complicated setup. I do a lot of learn to code workshops, and you often need to have like a pre-workshop workshop just to get everyone's computer set up. Otherwise, you'll spend like the first 2 hours of it doing that. But since this is all just text, you could just use like one of those browser-based websites where you can add in Python code and have it run in your browser. You don't need anything very fancy for this. You don't have to invent anything new, and the tech industry loves to talk about like radical innovation and revolutionizing tech and everything, especially when it comes to education. But a lot of what the tech industry produces assumes a certain level of affluence or a certain level of expertise. And a big part of Python's success has been making a free open source programming language that is approachable for people outside of the software field. So, don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of great stuff out there for getting people into tech, especially young people. But they can't get everyone into tech. We need something that scales not because it is fancy and high tech, but something that scales because it's boring and simple. So scroll art is not about retro computing. When I say that any computer can do scroll art, I'm not talking about PCs from the 80s. I'm talking about like the tablets and Chromebooks and old desktops that parents will get for an after-school computer club, or the kind of computer used by career switchers who don't want to drop a whole lot of money when they're just starting out. So scroll art is a great way for people who want to get into programming without a lot of investment, but it's also great if you are a software engineer and you're learning some new programming language and you can say, hey, I'll make some scroll art programs in this new language. So scroll art, this is going to be incredibly pretentious. Scroll art creates the illusion of movement and infinity. Ooh, that's deep. Here's what I mean. So scroll art is animated, but you aren't writing any animation code. You're just calling print in a loop over and over and over again. But you've seen it. It looks like upward movement. And if you add some random numbers in, you can have its output change and never repeat, like the digits of pi. And if you put that in an infinite loop, it goes on forever. So it's kind of like a lava lamp. It moves, it never repeats, It's very simple and it's kind of neat to stare at, especially if you're not exactly sober. And those are the kind of programming projects that you can make with scroll art. So here's some different types. I'm not going to go into all of these. I just wanted to, I found a bunch of examples of various types. So there's periodic scroll art, much like zigzag. Here's just a sine wave with some message. It just repeats over and over again. Here's something even simpler. I call this wallpaper because mostly it's just a static image that repeats over and over and over again. But there's so many different types that you can make. But this is a very easy way to get started. Let's see, I have the little skulls. Whoop. Down there as well. I get a lot of inspiration just by doing image searches for tessellations, and then that led me into a rabbit hole of like Islamic geometric art or traditional Japanese embroidery. And then really though, you can get ideas from anywhere. I was walking through Prospect Park and I noticed that all the hexagon pavers had interesting, unique cracks in them, and I thought, hey, I could make scroll art out of that. There's programs that are sort of like just doing combinations of different things. So I have ASCII art ducklings, and these ducks can be one of two sizes, and they could be facing left or right. Their mouths can be open or closed, and their wings and eyes can all be completely different. So then you can just start making a whole bunch of these ASCII art ducklings appear over and over and over again. It's really great when they line up and it looks like they're kissing each other. Let's see. Oh, yes, varying density scroll art. This is an idea that I had. Let's try this one right here. The idea is that you just have some pattern that slowly fills in itself more and more and more all the way from 0 to 100%, and then it goes back down to 0%, and then it just repeats again and again and again. So yeah, you're not limited to just text. There's a whole bunch of characters if you start diving into it. There are old so-called box drawing characters that you could use. If you wanted to do more of a texture thing, you could go from like periods that only take a little bit of the text space all the way up to @ symbols that take up a lot of text space. So here's an ASCII art donut shaded in using text characters. I threw all of this up on scrollart.org. I have like this little JavaScript library that lets you treat a text area HTML element as a screen that has print. Scrollart.org is where you'll find all of this stuff. Here's a bunch of tips. I'm not going to go through it. You can just read it online later, and some more advanced ideas as well. But really, my best advice is just start small. Have a simple idea. Usually I'll come up with some like great, cool idea, and then I'll spend 5 hours doing it, and then I realize actually this is terrible and it's not that interesting. It's always a lot more fun just to create a bunch of tiny little programs rather than some magnum opus like that. But yeah, so that's scroll art. Thank you very much. I'm Al Sweigart, and there's the website scrollart.org to find out more.
Thank you so much, Al. Really appreciated that talk. I'm teaching my class HCT Poetics for the first time in a year and a half tomorrow, and I was still like trying to figure out what to do for like one particular week of the class, like the students' second week of JavaScript, and I feel like a little bit of scroll art in the browser could be the right thing. So maybe we'll hack on that tomorrow morning. And thank you again for making all of your resources available under Creative Commons. It's just a really great service towards accessibility in programming. I really appreciate it. So now we have arrived at the famous WordHack mid-show break. We are going to take a 13-minute break. It'll probably be exactly 13 minutes. You don't need to look at the clock. It'll just be exactly 13 minutes whenever I tell you it is. But don't go far. We still have two amazing featured presenters coming up in the second half. We're going to be hearing from Lucia Gomez and Adam Aleksic, the etymology nerd. It's going to be a really exciting time. Also, Adam has a new book called Algo Speak, which is out. We have a lovely bookseller, Jules, out in the area by the bar. So if you would like to buy a copy of Adam's book during this break, please go do so. All right, I will see you in exactly 13 minutes. for you to chat with, but that same room of people will be here, hopefully, at the end of the show for you to continue to chat with and build enduring collaborative relationships with, as is the purpose of any creative event. But I'm going to vamp for a little bit, and we are going to get started with our second set of talks in the near future, as soon as I am done with this sentence, which has so many commas in it. I cannot even articulate to you how many commas are in this sentence that I am currently saying, at the end of which, there will be 2 more featured presenters, including 2 more featured presenters that you will hear from very soon. The excitement around this sentence has generated a silence in the room, which is especially conducive to the presentations we are about to hear. Thank you for coming back to the second half of WordHack. It is great to see you. I always love to be in the room during the break and see people talking to each other, some of whom know each other, some of whom do not. That's why we're here. All right, we're going to start up with our second half. Our next featured presenter, really excited to welcome Lucia Gomez. Lucia is a really talented programmer, creative technologist, and builder of exciting machines, who you will see such exciting machines very soon. It was really a pleasure to see. You'll see. There's a thing that isn't here, but I saw it in person, and it was great. You interpret that later at your leisure. Please give a warm welcome to Lucia Gomez.
Thank you, Todd, for maybe the world's longest run-on sentence.
Do you have sound?
No. Hello. Oh, there we go. I'm realizing now my slides may be too low, but we have to deal with it. All right, so hi everyone, I'm Lucia Gomez. Mike. I am Lucia Gomez. As Todd said, I'm a creative technologist. I also very recently graduated from ITP at NYU. Lots of ITP folks here. But more importantly, I'm a first-time WordHack presenter. So I may be more proud of that than of my very expensive NYU diploma. So this project, Sign Lines, was my thesis that I spent the past year building, but it's really been a lifelong journey that I want to take you all through today. So before I get into what this crazy machine is, I want to give some background as to how I got here and why I made this. So this is a photo of me and my sister Emma. Emma can't talk or use her hands, so she communicates through an eye-tracking device that converts text on a screen to speech. And growing up, I helped my parents program words into this device to help her better express herself. Then I started high school, and I learned a new way people can express themselves. I joined an American Sign Language club and began learning how to express myself in ASL. I've been learning ASL for about 10 years. I'm not fluent, but I can get by. Also, while I was in high school, I began taking computer science classes, so I've been programming for a long time. And I saw that apps like Google Translate and Duolingo were becoming more popular and more powerful as AI got more powerful. And because I was learning ASL at the same time, I began to wonder why these platforms don't support ASL. Duolingo offers lessons in fictional languages like Klingon from Star Trek, but they have no ASL curriculum. So I thought it was a shame that so many people rely on ASL, but they're usually left behind from latest tech advances. So as I learned more about computer science, I understood that ASL machine translation is a really big unsolved problem. And for a few years, I became hyperfixated on being the one to solve it. So I went to college and studied computer science and linguistics, where I learned that in order for a computer to translate ASL, it's not just a matter of recognizing what someone's hands are doing, but it's also a matter of decoding facial expressions and body language. So basically, ASL is too human for computers to understand right now. So my hyperfixation began to shift, clearly not very far because I'm still here talking about this years later. But a few things helped shift my perspective away from ASL machine translation. First, I joined a student group at Cornell that advocated for increased accessibility on campus. My friends and I campaigned for the establishment of an ASL course sequence, and we won. So there's now a thriving ASL department on campus. So I'm proud to have been a part of that. But also this showed me the importance of raising awareness that, hey, ASL is a real language that deserves appreciation. The next thing I learned is I'm actually really bad at machine learning. I took some heavy computer science courses, and I realized that this wasn't for me. There's other good reasons to not force the issue of ASL machine translation. Christine Sun Kim is a famous deaf artist who has this piece called Degrees of Deaf Rage. It's actually on display at the Whitney right now, if anybody wants to go see that. In this piece, she visualizes the frustration she feels as a deaf person navigating a world that mostly caters to hearing people. I've been a fan of her work for a long time, but this drawing in particular feels relevant. A lot of machine learning 101 projects focus on translating the ASL alphabet, but that's only 1% of translating the full language of ASL. And this project has been done so many times by people who know nothing about ASL or deaf culture. So it's enough of a thing that deaf folks are angry about it, understandably. I don't want to add to anyone's rage, so I'm trying to be cognizant of building something that highlights the beauty of ASL and doesn't exploit it, while also working with the deaf community. So this overlap of ASL and tech is still my hyperfixation. So what else can we do here aside from just machine translation? That's an interesting problem, but it's complicated and maybe not what the deaf community wants or needs. So I shifted towards applying my web dev skills towards ASL education. During COVID, I was really bored at my parents' house. Hi, Mom, who's watching right now. And I banged out this Chrome extension, Sign Search, that compiles data from multiple dictionaries online into one single web page view. So like English, ASL is very dialectal. So while I was taking ASL classes, I was Googling multiple dictionaries to see how to sign a single word to get consensus on that. So this tool made things easier, and it's since been adopted by a few school districts for students learning ASL. But more recently, I was considering attending ITP, and I began to imagine more artistic ways of combining ASL with technology. I really have this hyperfixation, so I wrote about one idea in my application essay, and I finally made it happen for my thesis over the past 2 years. So finally, what I'm here to talk about today is sign lines. So sign lines is a paint plotter. It's an AxiDraw plotter that represents ASL in an abstract way. So it allows someone who knows ASL to transform their signs into a watercolor painting, but without doing any translation. So this is the whole thing in all its glory. And just to be crystal clear, it's a real physical device that makes watercolor paintings on paper. Some folks see it and think this is a digital tool or AI art. It's not, it's real. So I'll explain the crazy physical stuff later, but let's see how it works at a high level first. So first, a user, like me in this video, signs something to a webcam. Then what they signed is converted into several files, and these files are sent to the plotter, which paints them one by one. So in the end, you have this physical painting that shows what was signed. So that's cool, but how do we convert signs into a file to paint? So first, some background on the grammar of a sign in ASL. Each sign has 5 parameters that are articulated with your hands at the same time. So these are kind of like phonemes in spoken languages, if you know linguistics, but they all happen at the same time. So this unique combination of parameters is how you define a sign. And if you change one of the parameters, you're signing something totally different. It's kind of a joke that this means marriage, this means hamburger. So, you have to be careful what you're signing. So these parameters are the linguistic building blocks of ASL. I chose 2 of these to encode in my paintings. Gesture or movement is how you move your hands through space. This becomes the brush strokes in the painting. And then hand shape, which is what your fingers do as you sign, determines the color of a brush stroke. that's still a little abstract, so let's break it down further. So if it helps, you could think of it like the You're Watching Disney Channel, but my version is messier, but also more meaningful. But so you move your hands and the paintbrush follows your hands. So this is what my software sees when you sign something. I'm moving my hands and these colorful lines start to appear. So these are the brush strokes that will eventually be painted. Then the plotter paints these exact same lines on the paper. It's painting each color one by one, and the brush's motion is just copying how my hands moved. This is the finished painting from that previous slide. It was me signing "I'm ready to graduate" because that was true at the time. So that's "I'm ready to graduate." So you might ask, is this just a scribble, or can you look at this and pick out distinct signs? Because I know ASL, I can recognize that this green line up there is part of the sign for graduate. This is the sign for graduate, so my right hand is making this rotating motion. So I'm pretty sure that green line represents the movement and location of the sign for graduate. And this looks like the sign for ready. I've seen it signed two ways, either ready or ready, but both of them kind of the same motion, same hand shape, moving side to side. Okay, so that was movement. Now let's see how hand shape becomes paint color. So why was graduate green, but ready was purple? These are some of the many hand shapes that are valid in ASL. And remember, these are one of their parameters, so they're an important linguistic building block in ASL. So I wanted to map different contrastive hand shapes to different colors. But there's a lot of hand shapes, and I don't want to do that many paint colors in my machine, so I put them into groups. So these groups are based on how you sign the names of colors in ASL. So for example, this is the sign for orange. It's kind of a fist hand shape by your chin. So I decided that any hand shapes close to a fist will be orange. So graduate was green because it uses the same hand shape as the sign for green, which is this. Okay, so after figuring out what to paint, it was time to figure out how to paint it. So I bought this AxiDraw plotter, maybe you're familiar with it, but that's the metal bar here that's moving the paintbrush around. So just off the shelf, it knows how to draw a file that it receives. So that alone takes care of the movement part of ASL that I wanted to draw. What I built from scratch over the past year was a system to dispense multiple paint colors based on the hand shapes that were signed. So I needed very fine-grained control over which color to paint when. This is getting very techy here, so bear with me for this part. But the first part I built was this 3D printed enclosure to hold everything together. It's holding 7 syringes, so 6 colors, 1 full of water, 7 syringes, and each one has its own pump to pump out the liquid. An important part here was watertight connections between these, so I can refill without spilling anything on a circuit, because that would be bad. Underneath all of that is this messy circuit board that controls each pump. I designed a custom printed circuit board, a PCB, that controls all of them with an Arduino. So this combination of syringes, pumps, plastic tubing lets me dispense the right paint color at the right time. Here's one of the colors loading in for the first time. So all of those plastic tubes connect here. I 3D printed an attachment to funnel those 7 liquid streams into one point. A nice benefit of this is that the colors can mix a little bit inside to get some nice color combinations. Finally, I needed to automate the process of rinsing water through this. Because they're watercolors, they can get a bit muddy if I don't constantly rinse water between them. So very last minute, a week before I finished building this, I built a platform to raise it off the table to allow space for the paintbrush to shoot water into a little water bottle that I can empty out. So down here, it's literally just a little water bottle that catches paint. So that's it for the hardware. On the software side, I won't go into too much detail, but I'm using Touch Designer to process the webcam input into files to send to a server on my Raspberry Pi, which talks to all of the hardware. The key part in Touch Designer is I'm using MediaPipe, which is a machine learning model from Google, and that does the hand tracking and knows where my hands are and what they're doing. So finally, here's some of the output from SignLines. These were made during my first round of user testing. These are mostly me and my classmates, most of whom don't know any ASL. So I taught them some basic sentences like "my name is," spell your name. But it's fun to see the range of colors and shapes you can get from these simple sentences. This one on the top left, I don't know what was happening there. That one's pretty crazy. But things got more interesting when I demoed my work at Cornell University. I talked to some advanced ASL students and deaf professors who are fluent in ASL. And I saw them interact with sign lines. And at first they signed simple sentences, but then something magic happened when they realized that some signs look better in paintings than others. And they began to discuss what signs to choose to have the best painting. So it was cool to see them think about the language in a new way, because it wasn't immediately obvious, even to fluent signers, which signs to pick. Here's some of the best ones from that session. The one on the left is my favorite. It was the phrase computer science, which was computer science. So lots of you can definitely see it's two hands doing some circular motion there. I think the middle one is something with whales. This is whale. So that one's pretty cool too. So at this point, people tend to ask, is this a form of writing? Can you look at it and literally read what it says? So to compare, I looked into existing ASL writing systems. These aren't very widely used. They're mainly used in academia. But if you know how to read these, you can literally look at them and know how to move your hands to reproduce a sign. So these are all ways of writing the sign house. This is house. So the first two, you can pretty clearly see the motion there, but the last three are very abstract. To dive a little bit deeper, this is an example of Stokey notation, one of the more popular ones, showing how to write the sign forget. So there's different characters to show the different phonemes or parameters of the sign, like location and its start to end movement across your face. All that to say, it's pretty clear that sign lines looks nothing like this. So no, it's not a writing system. It's too abstract. Information's being lost here. But it's more about appreciating the beauty of what was signed. So this was me signing I love you, but you wouldn't know that unless you were there when I signed it. So while sign lines is not writing, there's a few other systems I like to compare it to. The first one is this kitschy trend of audio waveform art, where you can visualize recorded speech as a series of lines that represent volume. So this is still encoding a specific moment in time into this illegible 2D form, so kind of like sign lines. But then we have Chinese calligraphy, which is obviously writing, but it's very artful and it's still brushstrokes, so not unlike sign lines. One last note, while I was building all of this, I was taking a class with Alison Parrish of WordHack fame, and she taught us about asemic writing, which is this kind of art that makes your brain think it's looking at writing, but it really has no meaning. So sign lines might fall into this category. Who's to say? I don't know. That's most of what I have today, but I plan to keep working on this. My biggest call out is if you are good at machine learning, which I am not, I could use some help training some MediaPipe models, so if that interests you, hit me up. So that's sign lines, but actually I didn't tell you who I really am, I realized. So my background is in software engineering. I used to work at Meta, but I got frustrated working there, so I quit and I went to ITP. I graduated in May, but I'm going back as a resident for the next upcoming year. But also, I need money to live on, so I freelance. If you want to work together, please hit me up also. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Lucia. It's a really beautiful project, and yeah, I went and I was a thesis advisor at ITP this year, and got to see that project in person. It's just really beautiful to see in person, just see the gestures become their own unique art form. And I've seen a lot of different kinds of calligraphy over the years, and just the relationship between something what happens when we stop making legibility a priority for language and just let it be its own visual thing is just a really fun space to enter with words, and I really enjoyed that about that project. So I'm really happy to see that presented here. We have one final presenter for this instance of WordHack. Really excited to welcome Adam Aleksic, the etymology nerd, to the stage. I have known Adam's content, and perhaps many of you have, as just enthusiastic videos explaining what a piece of slang you may or may not understand means. And what I really appreciate about his work that I think drew me to him and drew him to this space is that, like, I don't know, here at WordHack, we try and have a space where we can think about what language means, and we can think a little bit, but also just in an approachable way, not in a entirely peer-reviewed setting. We can think about what words mean in our lives and how they impact us, and that doesn't need to be such a bad thing. We can think for fun, and that's a thing I really appreciate about Adam's content, is that it just creates a space where you can think critically about how language is changing without having to feel like you're working or like you need to prove anything to anyone. I generally believe that that learning and thinking more and being an intellectual are things that should be fun and approachable for anyone. And I really appreciate the way that Adam invites people in to like think more about how language works. I'm really excited to see what he has for us this evening. Adam has a new book called Algo Speak, about how algorithms influence the way we talk and interact with language. It's available for sale out there by the bar. I'm sure you're going to hear more about it in this talk, but please buy a copy. Let's give it up for Adam.
Thank you. How do I connect?
This should be how you connect.
Oh, no.
But I have this theory, which is that is this Mac? Or
Also,
is that...
yeah, it's MacBook Air. It keeps glitching out, too. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, so I think Macs like skinny dongles and PCs
Give me
like
the
fat
skinny dongle.
dongles.
Beautiful.
That has been my experience, at least. So let's try to do it with... Oh, that's much too fat for a MacBook Air. All right, let's try this one.
Dongle's a crazy word.
It's a crazy word. Like it probably peaked in like 2017, but...
No, it's got its...
Is it still up? Yeah. Seem like you keep up with the engrams.
I'll have to check the engrams later. Yeah, all right, what's up here? Oh, great. All right, we're in business. Hello, everybody. Hi. Thank you, Todd. Hi. Well, really excited to be here. WordHack. I'm maybe more on the word side, but it was really cool watching all you guys hack. You guys are very interesting people. I don't have any cool scrolling animations, but yeah, super excited to be here. What a space. Let's get right into it. Oh, wait, yeah, I'm a linguist, content creator. Wrote this book about social media changing language. That's why we're here. There's a reason I'm going to talk about this. Could I get just a temperature check? Raise your hands if you've heard of some of these words or you're familiar with these. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. You're cooked. For those of you out of the loop, these are words that all come from the manosphere. They were either created by or were popularized by incels, involuntary celibates, and now we have middle schoolers using these words in their daily lives. Some of us use these words in our daily lives. How do we get here? That's kind of the question, you know? What happened for incel language to suddenly reach the mainstream, you know? Maybe I'm guessing I don't have to go down these definitions. We'll get into them. Okay, so I'm going to talk way more about incels than you probably want to hear. But there is some necessary kind of background lore. Okay, our story, funnily enough, starts with a woman named Alana. And Alana created a website in 1997 called Alana's Involuntary Celibacy Project. As the name implies, it wasn't just, a male space. It was for anybody who felt like they couldn't, have sex or were struggling finding romantic partners. They called this the Invcel with a V in it. Obviously, that isn't as catchy, so later they dropped the V. But this original website was kind of chill, like, just internet space. There was gay people. It was chill. Yeah. But eventually, that's like kind of goes defunct. Incels look for the next place to move. It's a common aphorism that all internet culture is downstream of 4chan, and we're sort of about to see why. So a lot of these like early people from Alana's involuntary celibacy project moved to 4chan, and I don't want to categorically say 4chan's a bad space. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. People go on there for a lot of interests, anime, politics, pornography. The politics people are really weird. There's a forum called R9K, which stands for Robot 9000. It's like a script that prevents like the same image from being reposted. It's meant to like encourage original posts. And it turns out when you have a bunch of lonely alt-right men, you get a lot of interesting things when the encouragement is original posts. Okay, so the incels moved to 4chan, and their ideas at this space fuse with the political board, fuse with the alt-right. There's less of it's less of a woman-friendly space explicitly, so and there's no check on this, and they're free to maybe kind of develop their ideas in a different direction. I do want to take a moment and talk about why 4chan is so prolific at coming up with words and ideas. Like, what's going on with that? A little background on 4chan, all users are anonymous, and there's like a whole culture of differentiating yourself from normies. So there's a real need to demonstrate a performative proficiency in shared slang to show that you're cooler than the normies who don't use 4chan. And this means that 4chan, just because people are like trying to prove themselves, has come up with a lot of words, and a lot of words have formed this sort of sociolect, this dialect of how people speak on 4chan. They've come up with a lot of foundational internet language. Trolling, dank, rickroll, copy pasta, shitpost. These are all words that come straight from 4chan. These aren't incel words, so there's other spaces on 4chan. But it just proves how 4chan is very good at coming up with new words, and it's maybe like a background to how some of these ideas started to percolate. The suffix pilled, for example, starts with red-pilled and black-pilled on the political board of 4chan. It comes from the Matrix, the idea that you can take a red pill or a black pill. If you're cool in their mind, you take the red pill. Incels take this a step further, and they come up with the concept of the black pill. And so now that we have incel ideas fusing with involuntary celibate ideas fusing with political ideas, they start to develop this really weird philosophy called the black pill. And the idea here is that everybody innately has some level of attractiveness that's, it's not subjective, as most people do think attractiveness works. It is objective. It works on particular metrics. It works on how far apart are your eyes? What's your jawline angle? Like, what angle are your eyes? Like, all of this is part of their philosophy of how people look better or worse than other people. And you might think to yourself, this sounds like phrenology, and yeah, it is. It's really weird. It's like neo-Darwinian kind of, I don't know what's going on there. They build up all these ideas. You might have heard about like mewing, which is like a jaw improvement technique. They have ideas about canthal tilts and hunter eyes. And so, okay, they believe everybody has like an actual objective level of attractiveness. That fits them into a sociosexual hierarchy. And every person has an assigned amount of sexual market value. I'm sorry for talking about this, guys. This is important context. Every person has like an assigned amount of sexual market value, which is like how much they can compete against other people for mating. They like explicitly take this sort of evolutionary standpoint. And yeah, the idea is that if you're like on the left side of the bell curve as a man, like it's tough to get women, and then on the right side it's really easy to get women, and you see this sort of redistribution of a bunch of women toward the top men, and the people on the bottom, the incels, are unable to get sex, and that's bad for them. Okay. And so now you have this like hierarchy built up, right? On the top you got like alphas, also known as chads. You got betas who, I'm sorry. Betas are willing to exchange loyalty for chads in exchange for their sexual leftovers. And they also act as like orbiters for Stacies, who are the female equivalent of a chad. You go down the hierarchy, you get to like incels. Sigma, you might have heard the term Sigma, male Sigma wolf. You know, it's funny. The idea is they're like nominally equivalent to a Chad or like an alpha, but like they choose to go outside of the hierarchy by their own choice. Like they're different. Okay. Yeah. So okay. However, this is still kind of normie. The Incels Wikipedia page lists R9K as a pseudo-incelosphere space. It's a place where normies mix with true incels and sometimes show up to, you know, troll them, the 4chan word. Yeah, the real incels, like, they moved on, you know. They moved to other subreddits. On Reddit, before they banned it, there was r/incels, r/brain cells, because they're smart. Okay, so they moved to those spaces get shut down. They moved to other forums. Don't look this one up. It's, you know, still active. This is from yesterday. Don't ask me why it's for research. Okay, so incels moved to other forums. They continue like trolling, doing their own little memes on Reddit, on 4chan, but the idea here is that it's possibly more of an incel than other people. And that's a really important idea to these incels, that there's a thing called a true cell. Okay, so like a vol cell is a voluntary celibate. A true cell is a true celibate. There's people who are like claim to be incels, but are actually vol cells, and they are viewed negatively in the incel community because it's cool to have less sex. It's like a community thing for them. You know, find a group with similar interests, I guess. You know. And then, you know, peripheral to that, there are people who clearly can't have sex, but are still, like, accepting this black pill philosophy, people like Andrew Tate, the weird manosphere people. They're still, like, downstream of these ideas. They still, like, their ideas still come from these spaces, but they're, like, a little bit more peripheral. Okay, now let's get back to the true cells. They similarly to how 4chan has a need to come up with language to prove themselves and prove how they're not normies, the true cells have a need to demonstrate that they are in fact true cells and not some like normie delta vol cells. So they also come up with language as an in-group sociolinguistic indicator showing that they cannot in fact have sex. This involves dehumanizing women, and a lot of this like category stuff that I was talking about is like implicitly imposing a mode of categorization, which is like a big thing that they do. Like they try to make you see the world through a specific lens. So now you categorize all male-to-male interactions as emasculation and all male-to-female interactions as inherently sexual. This is like how they view the world, and their sort of language reinforces this. It's incredibly cult-like, and if you study the language of cults, you notice that the closer to the in-group, the closer to the leader you get, the more insular their language is. It sounds kind of cool to like learn new words, so you might, and you know, generally feel like you're part of a group, so people might feel incentivized to get further in the group, and then when you're really deep in that group, it's like rewarding to feel like you're a part of something when your whole life you feel like you're a social outcast. So they come up with a lot of language, and this involves like creating opposition to other groups, dehumanizing women particularly. These are all terms they use for women. Foid, which comes from like, it's like female, and then oid is like a racial suffix coming from Mongoloid. It's funny to them. And roasty and dumpster, these are all like things they will call women. And these are, they have racial categorizations as well. They think some races have more sexual market value than other races. So they'll refer to Asian people as rice cells and curry cells. It's really fucked up. And this is only kind of a small like fraction of the words they use. If you're really into these spaces, and unfortunately I've had to look at these spaces for the book that I was writing, if you're really into these spaces, like it's unrecognizable kind of language than like regular English. Like you're so deep into it, and these words impose a mode of categorization, a lens of seeing the world, and it becomes unconscionable to like think in regular English. And regular English seems like just like different, and it's normie, and it's not like a reasonable way of seeing the world to them. So they see the world in all these terms, and again, I've given you a small sample here, just showing how crazy it gets. But okay, you see like this in-group language really, really develop among the true cells, particularly downstream from 4chan on other websites. Misery loves company, right? They really like building their group and getting more people to accept the black pill. And, you know, they deliberately try to spread those ideas. Also, sometimes the ideas just spread by themselves. This stuff is not funny, but a lot of the other stuff was funny. We all kind of laughed. It was silly. But that's because, you know, language often follows the conduits of what is funny. Incels, sometimes their language is taken, you know, without them pushing it, but sometimes they deliberately push it. And I call this like a Trojan horse. They find a way to package these ideas in a more compelling manner, because the average person is not going to start calling women foids and Asian people curry cells. That's crazy. But it's like you can package the more like socially appealing concepts in a way where it will spread through memes, through like funny haha language, and this spreads through algorithms. It spreads through like echo chambers that we find ourselves in. I'm in the urban design echo chamber on TikTok. I really like getting memes about people like walking and transit. And so when these memes first started going viral in January 2023, I got a meme about how it's so hard being a walk-pilled cardio maxer in a car cell gas cuck state like Arizona. I thought this meme was pretty funny. I liked the meme, I shared the meme with a friend, and then a few weeks later, the algorithm sent me another video about how I should be fossil fuel pilled and bad to the bone. And I got another one about being an America maxed parking lot pilled pavement princess. And so this is how these memes find you. They find you in your echo chambers. They're like, this was funny. If anything, it's kind of making fun of incels, right? Yeah, they were funny. I share them with friends. I got more incel memes. This is how these memes spread. Sometimes through direct echo chambers, sometimes through songs. There was a song in October 2023 that went "Sticking Out Your Yacht" for the Rizzler. One of the lyrics contained the word Sigma. You know, it becomes funny to middle schoolers to say what the Sigma. That's like a thing people say. There's these Sigma Wolf memes that are popularized. It's funny. It's a meme. But these memes are like packages for their ideas. They're the Trojan horses. And I don't think incels, to be clear, came up with these urban design memes. These are by funny, cool urban design people. But you know, it's like just downstream from the notion that these could be remixed into funny things. And the incels kind of weaponized their memes in different ways, and then it was like repurposed by people making fun of the incels. And I guess I'll get into that, like the boundary between what's funny and what's not funny in a second. But I want to explore more this idea of like a package, a Trojan horse for an idea. Some of you might recall this meme from, I think it was like April 2024. So this is the idea that we revolve around a few stock templates and things we say. I thought it was fun. I like this meme too. Friend pilled visit maxer. The idea here is it's not just a meme itself that is a carrier of ideas. It is language. It is the fact that blank pilled blank maxer is something you could apply to literally any situation. This makes it easily readaptable. Memes spread better when they're easily readaptable, easily remixed into new contexts. So the words, the language itself, and the way that incels use it, they do the same stuff here, right? The language is a carrier for their ideas, and it's funny. I don't think this is really that harmful, but I don't know. Potentially, it could like open up the door. I'll get into that too. All right, so we're playing into like algorithms are a big part of this right now. This meme spread through the algorithm. All my urban design memes came through the algorithm. Algorithms tend to, if we want to understand what's happening, we have to remember that these platforms are commodifying our attention so they can sell our data and so that they can sell us more ads. So attention becomes like a baked-in incentive. Influencers then have to replicate that. Like they have to do things that get your attention. And also there's a survivorship bias in things you see. So the things that show up are things that get your attention. Things that get your attention tend to be objects of like social fascination. You know, slang words are really good at that. Wow, crazy. And maybe modes of categorization are compelling to us. Like the way like ENTJ, like your MBTI score is compelling, even though that's like scientifically bullshit. Zodiacs are compelling, even though that's scientifically bullshit. So, wow, crazy. It seems like scientifically bullshit ways of categorizing people become compelling. And that's how we get into like beauty influencers using canthal tilt makeup tutorials and talking about interocular distance and hunter eyes. And the way this happened is incel trolls showed up on Reddit forums like r/ratemE, which is where women went to get rated on their physical appearance, and then incels showed up and they would use this language, and then women kind of thought this was real. And particularly like beauty influencers on TikTok, and maybe they replicated this because they thought, hey, this has a better chance of going viral. In some cases, it's knowingly ironic. In some cases, it's reinterpreted as real and then replicated by other people who are doing it ironically, and then again reinterpreted as real. You guys should all be aware of Poe's law. It's the adage that any sincere expression of beliefs online can be misinterpreted for an ironic expression of those beliefs and vice versa. I think that's very important to understanding the internet as a whole. That and like the law about all the conversations will descend into Hitler. Okay, so there's this boundary between irony and authenticity, and things keep getting reinterpreted. It's like this, the friend-pilled visit maxer is funny to us because like the notion is that there's actual people who think like these are real, or the Sigma memes. Like there's actual people who believe like there's alphas and chads and Sigma wolf men. That's funny to us. So we spread the concept that it's like soaking or something. Like it's funny that people could be soaking, but like we don't know how much they're soaking, but it's like funny, so we say that. Like as a word, and then the word spreads. And so like also confusion generates comments, which again, if we're talking about algorithms, comments are engagement, which pushes things further. The fact that someone's confused, like, oh, is hunter eyes a real thing? Now they comment that, and now it's pushed further in the algorithm. So the fact that you're confused about something, I call it confusion bait, kind of like rage bait. It just pushes things further. There's also the Oxford study meme in like last summer. This was a way of categorizing Asian women based on their sexual preferences. It fetishized and harassed them. It was pretty bad. It started with, I told you there's like the weird racial categories in the incel like hierarchy. They believe that there's a certain distribution of sexual races. That's where the idea comes out of. Somebody then made a joke, oh, there should be an Oxford study about the distribution of races. And then that was reinterpreted as serious by some people. Like some people thought it was a real study. And then they start commenting that kind of because, oh, it's a funny way to categorize people. We love funny ways to categorize people. They comment that, and then it gets reinterpreted. Like some people know it's a joke and push it further, and some people think it's real and then they push it further. And that's kind of how that happens. And it's all reinforced by memes and algorithms. You know, like it's funny to see mocking Squidward. The Rizzler mewing, Giga Chad, Sigma wolves, like this is good stuff, guys. But it still maybe pushes the social categorization. Like there's a Virgin Walk versus Chad Stride meme that's been going on for decades. And the idea is that you're literally labeling a man like he's a scientific diagram in a biology book, and this is how incels think about people. So maybe on some subconscious level, we start to think more in terms of categorizing each other like this. It's interesting stuff, but it's also depressing stuff. And I also often get the question when I make videos about this stuff, are we cooked? Or we're so cooked. So I wanted to address that exact question. Are we cooked? I said that at the start, you're cooked. I kind of said that as a joke, but there's a boundary between irony and authenticity, famously. I think these are somewhat dissociated from context when we use them, right? If I tell my friend they're a friend-pilled visit maxer, that's like, if anything, it's making fun of incels. It's lost its context. It's not used by them anymore. Neither my friend or I are incels, thankfully. If you talk to middle schoolers, I've done a lot of like surveys of middle schoolers for my research for my book, where I asked them like, hey, you're using the word Sigma, and they all use the word Sigma. Hey, you're using the word Sigma. Do you know where this comes from? They're like, no. I say, well, do you know what like an incel is? They say no. The best they can get is like, they know like alphas and betas. So they're like downstream of the manosphere stuff a little bit, but it's really not that bad. Like I don't think the middle schoolers are cooked at all. Like the fact that they're saying what the sigma is just like funny to them. At the end of the day, like it's just like a silly way to relate to other middle schoolers. I don't know if anybody saw that show Adolescence on Netflix. It was like painted this really bleak picture of middle schoolers. It's that like, oh, they're all incels. No, I don't think they are. I think most of them are literally just chilling. They're using funny words. That's like a thing that we do. We had like yeet and on fleek, and they have friend pilled visit Maxter. So yeah, they don't know what it means. I guess there's the potential argument that it could push like the Overton window of acceptable thoughts and discourse in the direction of, okay, now it's acceptable to classify people like this and think about sexual relationships this way. And certainly there is this manosphere space which is regurgitating their ideas and does seem to be kind of spreading those modes of thought. And at the same time, the incels themselves think they've had an impact on the incel forums. Again, I'm sorry for knowing this. On incel forums, they'll talk about like TikTok gen and or new cells, which are people who like discovered them through TikTok. So at least they think there's an impact. Thankfully, the algorithms so far are still pretty good with actual incel discussion being prohibited. Like your videos would be suppressed if you talk about incels. So there's been less of a space that's been able to be created on there, and the true cells want to stay on their incel forums anyway. Because otherwise they're mixing with normies, which would be bad. So I don't know. I think it's like a mixed thing. I think we're a lot less cooked than people think. I think it's a good thing to be aware about, because if we're aware of like, hey, where is our language coming from? It's kind of crazy how much of our language and our memes are coming out of weird manosphere spaces on 4chan. Maybe we should be paying attention to that, and now that we're more aware of it, maybe be more conscious in our word choice. I don't think we have to stop talking about being walk-pilled cardio maxers, but it's good to be aware of this stuff and think about like how you're thinking and how you're categorizing the world and how things can just be frames. So I advocate for letting more people know about this, but I don't think we're that cooked, but we could be a little cooked. That's the takeaway. I wrote a book about this. There's a lovely woman named Jules selling them in the front, and you should buy them. Thank you. I'm also super happy to talk more about this afterwards with people and other things. The book is about other things. It's not just incels. It's like Skibbity and Cottagecore and Unalive. I'm also happy to talk about those things and ASL and algorithms. There's some cool stuff happening. Get the book. Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much, Adam, for that iconic WordHack talk. Go pick up a copy of I'll Go Speak out in the bar area. Jules is really nice, and there are copies to move. I'm going to go get one myself. Thank you to you all and to our online audience who is wonder-pilled and cooked maxing. It is a great pleasure to be up here doing WordHack for you all. Let's give it up one more time for all our featured presenters. So I am looking at my phone because WordHack is on the third Thursday of every month, which means our next WordHack is going to be on August 21st. So if you want to set, it's possible on Google Calendar to set a recurring event that happens the third Thursday of every month. Many people do this, and you could be one of such people. You don't have to come to WordHack every time, but you just have to know it's happening. Another way you can have to know it's happening is by joining our mailing list, which is available on the event page for this event. You can just throw your email. I send out one email a month, which tells you when the next WordHack is and gives you a recording of the previous one. It's real easy to be on there. And just before I sign out, I wanted to give a shout out to, so I work at the School for Poetic Computation. It's really a cool place. We have maybe some SFPC students in the house. It's a really great place to study in this space, not just language and technology, but just different ways to explore computation in a number of fields across art, code, and critical theory. We have our fall classes with applications open right now. They'll be open through August 3rd. We have some classes available from past WordHack speakers, such as Blake Andrews and Herdemas Angara. So there's some game making classes. There's some use Google Drive badly classes. There's some really exciting stuff out there. Classes and scholarships are available for these classes. So you can find out more at sfpc.study. So if that's a thing you're curious about, happy to talk more about that. I think there's a lot of overlap between SFPC and WordHack and our teachers and our students. So if that's the kind of thing you might be interested in doing, happy to talk more about that. That's all I have for you this evening, but please get a drink, hang out, be good to each other, and I'll see you in August.